like, what's the dream of? What's the hope in? What's the doubt for? Live to no end. This is living. The life I've been given as a gift. If I'm a living, I'ma live it to death. So what's the dream of? What's the hope in? What's the doubt for? And live to no end. This is living. The life I've been given as a gift. If I'm a living, I'ma live it to death. Yeah.
All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and jump right in and get this going. So as people jump on, some people like are, working, they're doing their thing. Some people are here. So like, if you're here and you're listening to the call, if you would just pop on your camera and give me a thumbs up. So that then I know, right? For those that are just on the screen, what's up, Chris? Dave Wheeler, what's going on, man? Gabe, good to see you. Good to see you. Cool. So at least for the most part, I know who I'm talking to, and for everybody else that's just listening, Harold, appreciate it, man. Don't be that person, right? Come on camera, and we're gonna hang out for a few minutes. So today we're gonna talk about scheduling your success. It's a pretty simplistic topic. What I found in this business, this is not a complicated business. Now, that doesn't mean it's not hard, but it's not complicated. But we work with a wonderful thing called people, and we love to take things that are simple and make them complicated, right? And so what I've found is that we're not robots. We can wake up one day and we just crush it, and we're doing everything right, and everything goes our way. And then we wake up the next day, and no matter what we do, no one's going to book an appointment with us. No one's going to buy anything from us. And we start to wonder if everybody hates life insurance, right? Has anybody ever been there? You're like, is anybody ever going to buy life insurance ever again? Right? Of course, Cherie is like, yeah, that's me today. But here's the thing. What I found is if you can take the emotion out of it and you can set up parameters and put things in your schedule to keep you on track, there's this great graphic. I wish I had it. Just imagine this, right? Like just put, write down Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. If you write down all the days of the week, right? We always talk about consistency. And what we think consistency is, let's say you had a gauge or a meter, right? So Monday, 0 to 100, you had this filled up meter, right? Or cup that's filled up. Tuesday, same thing. Wednesday, Thursday. What we think consistency is every day the cup is filled up, right? Which means you're on your A game every single day. But if you stop for 2 seconds and think about that, that's not the truth, right? There's not, one of us here on this call, not myself, not Sean Simpson, not Nat DiCarlo, or even Jamie Cheerio that wakes up every day and we have 100% to give. Some days we're tired. Some days we got family stuff going on. Some days it's just not clicking. Like life happens. Of course it does. Of course it does. So what's really going on is Monday, maybe the meter is at a 7, but we show up anyway. On Tuesday, the meter's only at a 2, but we show up anyways. On Wednesday, we have a great day. It's a 10, and it goes on and on and on. That's what consistency really is doing the things that you need to do regardless of how you feel, okay? But with that said, if you've never taken the time to really drill down on this in your business, in your life, you can kind of just run happenstance through the week, through the month, and you get to the end of the week and you look at the leaderboard and you go, I wasn't where I wanted to be. Or you get to the end of the month and you go, I wasn't where I wanted to be. Or by the end of the year, you wanted to be Hall of Fame and you fell short. Why? Right? You can look back and go, okay, and you don't want to do that. I mean, so who here, I'm going to ask this question, who here, type in the chat, either me or give me a hand raise. You thought specifically to this business that you would be further along by now, right? Okay, most of us. And so that's what we're going to talk about, because I've felt this way pretty much all of my career. When we think forward on what we're going to do, it's always sunshine, rainbows, and everything's going to go right. And we're going to wake up in the morning, we're not going to eat carbs, we're going to have 6-pack abs and always have energy. And that rarely works out. So I remember very early on in my self-employed journey, Michelle and I just got married. And so here I am, early 20 somethings, and I'm self-employed for the first time. Like, no one's telling me what to do, when to be there. I don't have an office to go to. I'm working from home. And Michelle worked a job. She was a hairstylist. So she went in, punched the clock for 12 hours a day, 4 days a week. And I just remember, I'm somebody that I like to go to the gym, right? I go to the gym pretty much every day, rarely miss. And that was no different back in those days. And so I had this routine. Now, I didn't plan this out. This is just how it went. Okay. So I would get up in the morning. We'd usually, I don't know, we'd usually stay up late. I don't know if you're a morning person or a late person. Usually stay up late, watch a movie until whenever the movie got over, midnight, 1, whatever it was. And then I'd get up. Okay. So she'd have to leave for work around, I forget what it was, 7:30. So I'd get up kind of when she left. I'd get going with my day. I'd go to the gym, have an extra long workout. And by the time like I got dressed, ate, gym, all this stuff, it was like 10 or 10:30. Okay. And then I did that for years, and I wondered why I wasn't getting like really good traction in my business. I would make sales, and this was like the first time I was in insurance, right? So I'd make sales, but I just never could get a traction. I always felt like I would sit down at my desk at 10 or 10:30, and you know how it is, right? Your desk is not organized. Like all the pens aren't in the pen spot. So you got to like, before you work, you got to put the pens in the pen spot. Like no one wants to work on a messy desk. Has anybody ever done this? Instead of getting to work, you're like, now the desk is clean. Now I can get to work. And then you're like, well, I just did all that work. Now I got to go to the bathroom, and now I'm a little bit thirsty. So I got to get my water. And like, next thing you know, it's like 11:45. It's almost the afternoon. And now you feel bad. Now you feel bad because you didn't do what you said you wanted to do. So you're like, well, today's kind of a waste. So like, instead of like doing the hard work, was just dialing the phone and setting appointments, I'm going to go, I got this admin stuff. This one client wants me to work on this one thing. And next thing you know, it's 3:00. It's almost quitting time. And like, oh, my wife's going to be home and she's expecting me for dinner. Has anybody ever done this before? Or is it just me? Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's like we call it a lost day. We call it chasing the day. And so here was the deal. I ran like, now when I was working, I thought that I was working hard. And even Michelle was like, yeah, you work hard, compared to whatever. But it was a game changer once I had kids. For me, I remember like really thinking about it going, man, like I'm still 1099. Yes, the bills are paid. Michelle was still working, but like the goal was for her to come home from work so she could be with the kids. That means I need to pick up the slack on her income. So like, I got to get serious about this whole 1099 business, or else I need to go get a job. And that's when I really started mastering my schedule. And I know that sounds simple. We're going to do a deep dive on this, but even more so in my mind, in my career, there was before kids and after kids, right? It's laughable when I look back at how I thought I worked hard to now. And there's obviously things I could improve on. And by and large, it was having a plan or a schedule that I stick to. And if I stick to the plan, not every day is it perfect, of course, but most days I can, squeeze what I need to squeeze out of the day. I feel like in some little part, I'm more in control than not in control, right? And I think for a lot of us, that's what it is, right? If you feel in control, then you go, okay, I'm steering the ship of my life. I feel good about this. I feel like I can achieve. My tomorrow looks brighter than today. And if you feel that, then all of a sudden, all those things that you want in life, they become a little bit closer in your reach, right? Like, hey, I want to have a retirement one day. Okay, I feel like I can actually do that. Now I feel good about what I do. And if you feel good about what you do, of course, you'll like doing it. My daughter, my oldest one, they play sports and do all this stuff. She hates going to gymnastics, which is, she's like long and lanky and she should love it, but she hates doing it. And, she complains about it all the time. But the reason is because she's not very good at it, because she just hasn't practiced as much as the other kids. And so there was like 2 weeks ago, she went in and she had a really, really good day. I guess there was some move that she wanted to do, and she finally did it. And all of a sudden now she loves gymnastics. This business can be the very same way, right? If you've just been getting your clock cleaned on the phone, you're not making appointments, you don't feel good about this whole thing. You're like, I don't know if this is for me. I don't like life insurance anyway, right? Of course. But the second you start feeling like I'm in control, I can make this happen, I can actually achieve the things I want to achieve, you'll feel better about it and you will get better results. So let's dive into the obvious first, okay? So first things first, we do two things here at FFL, okay? Only two things. Everything else is a detail, right? The number one thing that we do is we sell insurance and protect families with insurance, okay? I hope no one's confused about that. That is the number one thing that we do. The second thing that we do is that we recruit and train and help other agents to do number one, right? Those two things are the only two things that we do that make us money. Does that make sense? Anybody confused about that, right? All of the other things are details. What are those other things, right? That is calling the carrier, sitting on hold with Americo. That is calling clients back to let them know if approved, calling clients back to update their banking, organizing leads, uploading them to Phone Burner. All of the other things that aren't one of those two things are details in support of those two things. So with that said, right, if you have a goal here of whether it's full-time or part-time, whatever the income goal is, whatever you want to do, it should be spent majority doing one of those two things. In the beginning, basically all of your time should be spent doing number one, right? Okay, so has anybody ever heard this saying, maybe you have, maybe you haven't, that an idle mind is the devil's playground? An idle mind is the devil's playground. So I don't know about you, but think back, whenever you're like not busy, maybe you were unemployed in life, or I don't know if that's, you've ever experienced that. Like, you don't have a lot going on. That's when you like, you start eating too much, you start maybe calling some, messaging people, hanging around people you shouldn't, all the things that lend us to not our best selves, right? But when you are so busy and you're like, oh my gosh, I just want a break, I just want a vacation, like you just don't even have time to allow your mind to go to that place and doubt to creep in. So I'm going to encourage you, by the time we get off the call, I'm going to give you some things, is to schedule your day so you pack it full of all the good things in life and business, so that as the days and weeks go on, you get to focus on the good things and not let all those doubts creep in. All right. So if you are in the home, right, if you're a newer agent, I would encourage you to go sell insurance in the home, driving to people's house. Okay. So this might not be no secret to everybody else that's been around for a while, but for newer folks, this is what I was told day one. Okay. Here was the full-time schedule in FFL. Okay. On Monday, you would dial the phone all day long until you had 15 appointments over Tuesday and Wednesday. So maybe that was 7 and 8, 8 and 7, what have you. Okay. So that was Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So Monday, you're dialing the phone only. Tuesday, Wednesday, you're just driving around. You're going and seeing the people like my man, Chris has been doing. He's been crushing it. On Thursday, you would rinse and repeat. You would dial the phone again to set 15 appointments for Friday and Saturday. That's 30 appointments a week. Now, the thing with this business, if maybe you're not getting the results that you want, I promise you, you get to the point where you can book 30 appointments a week regularly. It will change your life. Like, that's just it. Okay. So that's what I was told. And so I remember my first week, I had something like 26 or 28 appointments, not quite 30. And I was really upset about that because, like I like to hit goals and, whatever I set in front of myself, I want to do it. So I was like, man, I didn't hit 30 appointments. And then I kind of recapped my day and I said, well, that first dial day, I think I reverted back to my old self. I started dialing around 9:30 or 10 thinking, it's not going to take me absolutely all day to book up my schedule. And then I watched a video or somebody said, hey, I start dialing at like 7:30 and 8 o'clock. And I was like, oh, duh. Right. So now I have to schedule my time to go, okay, what do I need to do to make sure that I'm hitting the little green button by 8 a.m. All right. Now for me, I got kids. Maybe you do too. So that means I have to get up at 5 o'clock. I got to get them ready for school. We got to be at the bus by 6:38. If I want to work out, I have to run to the gym at 6:45, be back by 7:30 in the chair with all my stuff prepped from the night before. Because I'm not the type that I can just sit down and go. Like, I need a little warm-up time, right? I got to sit there, rub my eyes a little bit, hit the coffee, move the stuff around my desk at least one time. And then at 8 o'clock, I'm ready to go. And if I can hit that, like, that's the perfect day for me to like start and perform well. Cause this is a performance-based business, right? Like, no one's salary here. No one's working hourly. You only perform. So like, if you show up and you've been out too late the night before, obviously you're not going to perform. So it starts the night before. Like, I need to get to bed by like 10 o'clock. So that's like the first thing I would challenge you to write down. What this week, maybe you're part-time, what time you're going to go to bed, what time you're going to get up, and what time you're going to start. Like, those are the big blocks in your schedule. Now, if you say, well, I'm going to wake up at such and such time, but you don't go to bed until 2 o'clock in the morning, like, it's obviously not going to happen for you. So you got to, what time are you going to go to bed? What time are you going to get up? What time are you going to start dialing? Like you hit go on the phone, you hit the button, not time you're going to sit down at your desk, right? And that's a non-negotiable. Okay. So once I started doing that, all of a sudden I started booking 15 appointments and then 20 appointments in a dial day. All right. So that's in home. Now, anybody here who's doing or attempting to do one call, one closes? Anybody one call, one closes? Okay. We got a few. I don't see Dustin Bouchard. He's probably doing a one call, one close. Now, if you're doing it and you are crushing it, keep doing it. Don't change anything. You can do what you want to do. Dustin Bouchard crushes it. That's all he does. He does not set appointments. Okay. For the rest of everybody else, especially if you just started on telesales, I would encourage you to set appointments. Now, hear me out on this, okay? So if you've attempted to do one call, one closes, all right, let me just take you through the mindset of what has happens during your day and see if you relate to this, and then I'm going to help you solve your problem, okay? You're dialing. You don't know when the next person's going to answer. You don't know when the next presentation is going to be. You just know that you need to sell some insurance today, right? So you start dialing and ring, 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 ring. Hello, click. They hang up on you. Okay. And then you're like, man, in your head, you're like, I wonder when the next one's going to be. And then you do one and you get halfway through the presentation and, they're at the store. They got to go. They got to call you back. And you don't even get to do the whole presentation, right? So now you're like, oh man, I didn't get one. So now, okay, let me keep going. And then you're like, okay, I got a hard stop at 2 o'clock. Maybe you got to pick up your kids. Maybe you have an appointment for something and it's 1:15. And you're like, wait a minute now, if I get somebody on the phone, I don't even know if I have enough time to do the whole presentation. So let me stop early. So now you just cut your day early. Does that ever happen to anybody? Yeah. Right. And then every day is like that. And you do that for a week and you feel like an insane person. Right. So try to set some appointments. Okay. And I'm going to give you the schedule on that. But here's why. Now, again, if you do that and you've gotten past that and it's working, don't stop what you're doing. Okay. But for everybody else, set some appointments. Here's the benefit of setting appointments, right? Number one, you get to compartmentalize your activities during your day. Now, I am not a multitasker. My wife can do 17 things at once. I can barely do one thing at a time, right? I cannot chew gum and talk, walk down the street and talk. Like, it's bad. Okay. So I like if I'm sitting and dialing the phone to set appointments, boom, that's all I'm doing. That, like, singular focus, that's all I'm doing. Okay. Then when it's quitting time for that, boom, I don't have to dial the phone anymore. I'm free to do what I want. Okay. Now I know at like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or whatever the time is, I have appointments. So I need to know that I'm at my desk, phone in hand at that time. Okay. It also allows me to plan the other things in my day, right? Because we mentioned the other thing that we do is we hire, recruit, and train agents. Okay. So again, how many of us who want to build an agency, you're like, I'm going to build an agency, I'm going to call somebody about the opportunity, and the week goes by and you just forget because you've been selling. You just flat out forget. Like, there's no time in the day, right? But if you put in there, hey, on Monday from 12 to 1, I'm going to reach out to, X amount of people to share the FFL opportunity with, right? Simple. So I'm done calling. my call time is up. Now it's 12 o'clock. What do I do now? Well, my schedule tells me that I need to start recruiting people for 1 hour. So now I'm only doing that. Once that time comes, I put that away. And now I'm back to my next appointment. And for new folks, especially, right? Like Cherie, we were talking today, you're like, man, I need some tips. You know, I feel like I need to get a little bit better, a little sharper. It allows you to have an appointment, because if you get into a one call, one close, and maybe you're not on live dials, or, you know, no one's listening on live dials because they're doing their own thing. You're like, oh shoot, what do I do now? And now you're afraid to do an appointment, because what if you get stuck? But if you have an appointment, and Cherie messaged me, hey, Josh, I got a 1 o'clock. Can you listen in? I can be like, yes, I will definitely make sure I got volume up at 1 o'clock. So she feels like, cool, even if I mess up, somebody's got my back, right? And so it just allows the whole thing. Now, with that said, are you going to get no-shows? Yes. Is it going to happen more? Yes. Right. Should you account for that and set more appointments? Yes. Okay. So here's a schedule of a top producer on telesales booking appointments. All right. Now, a little bit different from the in-home, but you'll get the idea. Okay. So instead of setting appointments for the next 2 days, we don't want to do that, because, hey, we all have, you know, TikTok brain where we can't remember anything past like 60 seconds. Okay. So what I would recommend, and now if you've been told something, doing something else and it's working, like, you do you, but what I would do is from 8 to 11, right? That is your call time every day, 5 days a week. Okay. Now this is the full-time schedule here. This is like, hey, I want to chase down Nat DiCarlo. Good luck, but like, this will help you. All right. So from 8 to 11, I'm dialing the phone and I'm booking appointments, right? Ring, ring, ring. Hey, Lewis, this is Josh, just getting back to you, blah, blah, blah. And they go, hey, I can talk right now. Sorry, I don't have time right now. I can get back to you later. Are you working? Yes. When do you get in from work today? 5 o'clock. Okay, cool. I got a 5:45 or a 6:15, which works best for you, right? So I don't take appointments during call time because I'm trying to set up my day, right? And I'm going to set those appointments from 1 to 8 p.m., right? Ideally, right? 1 to 8. So if ideally I'm going to have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. That's 8 appointments a day, 5 days a week, if I'm full-time trying to crush it. Okay. That's actually 40 appointments. Now in the home, I was told 30. I believe if you want to match that, you probably need 40, especially in the beginning. Again, over time, as you evolve and grow and progress, it's going to be a little bit different. You're not going to need all that, but 40, because again, people are going to no-show, they're going to not answer the phone, whatever. And then that gives you the weekends off. Now, if you don't hit your goals, I made a post on whatever day it was, Saturday, on Facebook, and said, you know, if you're self-employed or you're an independent contractor, you earn your Saturdays off. You don't take Saturdays off, right? So if you hit your goals, right, you've ran the schedule, you've done your 40 appointments, you've sold what you needed to sell, you paid your bills, you've done your stuff, cool, take Saturday off. If you have not, right, pick up the slack on Saturday. Or if you're just trying to get ahead and do big things, right, work Saturday. But if you, so kind of going back to that, right, 8 to 11, I'm down the phone. So what does that mean? So going back to when I first started as a self-employed person, I remember my wife coming home, and this was like when I was starting to get serious. And she came home, she goes, hey, Josh, you know, I was gone all day. You work from home and the dishes aren't done. What's up? And I was a little bit snarky. Okay. Now my wife's a boxer, thus the gloves off, right? And it's right there. So I got to be careful. But I said, well, hey, babe, why didn't you do the dishes? She goes, well, I was working. And I was like, same here. Even though I was home, I was still working. So if you have a spouse, significant other, right, they need to like share your schedule. Say, hey, you work 8 to 5, 9 to 5, whatever it is. Here's my schedule. And that's going to be good for you, because if they come home and it's 8 to 11, and you're supposed to be dialing and you're doing something else, and they're going to be like, hey, babe, what's up? Like, aren't you supposed to be dialing? Oh, yeah. Right. So you need some accountability in your life. So 8 to 11 down the phone to make appointments for the same day. Number one, same day appointments are always going to be better, right? Less likely they're going to forget. And then the next day, nothing past that if you can help it. Okay. So that's the schedule. So we have some of the big stuff in there. All right. So we know when we're going to start. We know when we're going to quit. And now, if you're part-time, you're going to have to figure that out, right? So there's different variations of that, but the principles still apply, right? Have a time where you're going to dial the phone, make the appointments, see the people. It's the same stuff. Okay. But now we got all this other stuff. All right. For example, you make a sale and then you have to call Americo because the payment didn't go through. All right. Now, should you do that? When should you do that? Should you do that from 8 to 11? Well, absolutely not. That is the most precious time in your day. That is when you make the money, is from 8 to 11. The rest of the time, right? You're just helping people and picking up checks, right? So my advice to you is schedule, right? So like 1 to 2. Okay, let's say I have an appointment and it wasn't super solid. I'm going to earmark that and go, okay, cool. From 1 to 2, if this person doesn't answer, that's when I'm going to call, carriers to update stuff. I'm not going to just, because here's what most people do, right? Who has a to-do list? You got a to-do list. Cool, right? Yes, have a to-do list. But if it's not in your schedule, how many have a to-do list and you just like, it keeps getting put to the next day, right? You to the end of the day, you're like, ooh, I didn't do too much of it. I'll just carry the 2, move it to Tuesday. But if you schedule time block in your day, like add, this hour's admin stuff. Okay. So Johnny didn't answer the phone. Okay. Let me go knock out. All right. I got to rewrite this app. I got to call Americo. I got to do this. I got to do that. Check. And then as soon as 2 o'clock hits, I'm on to the next appointment. All right. So that's one thing. If you have agents, right? Here's what I found, right? I got this sign behind me and it's pretty aggressive. It says, here it goes. People don't think, people don't read, people don't listen, help them anyway. Okay. I get it. It's like, dude, that's a super mean sign. But if you've talked to people for 2 minutes, right? A client, you send them something and they didn't read it, right? You told them something, they didn't hear it, right? And who's ever, like, you told the client, this is how much it's going to be. We're going to need your payment information, your social, for all the reasons. And like 5 minutes later, they're like, they agreed to it. And then they go, well, I don't want to give you my bank account. You're like, I just told you 5 minutes ago and you agreed to it. It's because people don't listen. And so when you're working with people, with agents, and you just say something like, hey, Nat, man, I'm really excited for you. Welcome to the team, man. Hop on live dials tomorrow sometime, hit me up and we'll like do some work, right? All they heard is like, do whatever you want, whenever you want, which most people are going to do nothing, right? Like all of us, we're like, if we have a ton of time to do it, we'll never get to it. We'll try to do it in the last 10% of the time. But like Nat's a super busy guy. Like the dude is crushing it all day long. He doesn't have time for that, right? He can go, hey, look, I can squeeze you in at this time. Be here at this time. If you're here, I can give you 30 minutes. If not, gotta roll, right? And I think we all operate if we have more parameters, right? Like I do better when I have less freedom, maybe. Let me explain it this way, right? Does anybody play music? I know Kevin Bluffin plays some music, right? Drums. Kevin, you ever play the drums? Cool. Chris, you play the drums too? All right. So I played the drums. So imagine that if you ever seen a drum set, you got like 4 drums, you got a snare, some hi-hats, you got this big bass drum, you got some cymbals. Okay. If I tell any one of you, or this, right? You're an artist and I give you a piece of paper, I give you some drumsticks and I go, sit down and play me a song, or sit down and draw me a beautiful picture. You'll sit there and you'll stare for like 30 minutes. You're like, I don't even know what to do, right? But if I say, hey, Cherie, here's a red marker and a blue marker, draw me a picture of a clown, you can probably do a pretty good job. Hey, Kevin, here's the snare, the hi-hat, and the bass drum, right? Play me a rock song in 1/4 time. Like you probably know what to do, right? And so if we give ourselves more parameters, more things that we have to do, we have to be here. So for me, right? I'm a dad. Okay, I got all this stuff going on. I'm trying to be a top producer, trying to build an agency, trying to help as many people as I can. But like I have a family and I got kids. And so you do what you got to do, but like at the end of the day, you don't want to just neglect those. They're super cute too. I got two daughters, the most beautiful things in the world, and I love them. Okay. And, I can also get to the point, like I'm working all day and then like the day goes by and I'm like kissing them on the head goodnight, right? Like that happens. And so what do you do about that? Do I just take days off randomly and just spend all my time with them? Like, no, I got to schedule it because I still got to be productive. I got things that I have responsibility for. So one thing that I started doing, now they're not in school right now, but when they were in school, they get off the bus at 2:30. So in my schedule from 2:30 to 3:30 is kid time, right? I go to the bus stop, we walk back from the bus, we talk about their day one-on-one, like that's it. And that's like my thing every day. And so that cup gets filled. So I'm able to get back to task and not in the back of my head going, man, I wish I was doing better on the dad front. Okay. And so like, does this get hectic? Cause you're like, oh, I got all these things to schedule and I just want a day where I don't have to do anything. Like, yeah, but like that's kids do that. Kids just have days where they do nothing. Adults, we have things to get done, right? We don't have time to waste. We have responsibilities to take care of. We have things that we'd like to do and we're not getting any younger, right? It is what it is. All right. So, right. We've talked about the schedule. We've talked about setting appointments. And so if you have not done that, I would encourage you to do that. What's some other things that we can schedule in here? Okay. So write these kind of couple questions down, and this is your homework, right? This is your homework for yourself. If you have a team, get together with some of the folks on your team and challenge them and see if they have answers for these questions. I don't mean interrogate them, but like, hey, when do you ... Okay. So like this week, whatever your goal is, right? If you want to help 10 families this week, okay. It's like, all right, cool. We all know the annual premium on that. Let's start there. That's my goal, right? So how many appointments do you need to do that? Well, if you want to help 10 families a week and you're doing telesales, you're setting appointments, I would say 30 to 40. We just talked about that. Okay, great. I need these 40 appointments. How's that going to work? Okay, well, I got 6 days to work. So that's, 7 appointments a day times 6 days, or 8 appointments a day times 5 days. All right. So that's number one. Like, how many appointments are you committed to? What's your goal for sales? Okay. We got that. And then when are you going to dial the phone? So if you're doing one call, one closes, all right. Like you still have to get those 6 to 8 presentations in a day. And so, you sit down and go, well, I'm just going to dial all day until I get them. But like, let's face it, you start down the phone and then something else happens. You got to go grab the mail, the plumber calls, this shows up, that shows up. So let's like block it down, right? So if you're doing one call, one closes, 8 to 11, I'm down the phone. Then I get a break. All right. Go do what you got to do, eat lunch. 1 to 4, dial on the phone again. All right. And then 6 to 9, dial on the phone again if you're full time. Right. And if you hit two of those time blocks every day of the week, Monday through Friday, you should get in your 25 or 30 appointments or so. Like when I say appointments, like presentations. All right. So you got to figure that out. What's your schedule? So if you got somebody in your team, say, hey, Lewis, man, what's your schedule? What's your schedule this week? Do you have it written down? When are you doing that? Okay, great. So that's that. Number 2 is, what's your schedule if you're going to build an agency? What time of day and when are you going to do that? Is it going to be 12 o'clock? Now you can say, well, I'll just do it when I can. But if there's an old sales saying, right? If you fail to plan, then you plan to fail, right? So when are you going to do that? All right. And of course, maybe you're like me and you like block out all your business stuff and you're like, oh crap, I got all this like personal stuff I got to do too. So put that in there. And here's the thing, right? So simple stuff. But here's what I found, right? There's all these things that need to get done through the week. And if me and you are the same, right? We're the same in every way. And we get to the end of the week, end of the month, and you crush it and I don't. It's all about execution. Who executed better? So I heard somebody say, are you are you taking all day to work, or are you working all day? So, sitting down to think about family first life, to think about insurance, to move your papers around, to make 5 phone calls, get your butt kicked, go take a lap, come back, eat, think about it again, get stressed out because you haven't done anything. Like, that's not actual work. Okay. And then go one step further. Maybe you have been selling. You sell every week and you're like, I'm selling, but man, I want to grow a business. Okay. Well, yeah, it's how much time are you spending recruiting? How much time are you spending training? Right. And then there's like all this other little stuff, right? It's like, how can I make more people show up to my appointments? All right. So then you okay, what do I need to do? Okay, well, it's what I say on the phone. Maybe I could send a text. Okay, so if you want to send a text, when does that go in the schedule? Do you manually do it? Do you set up an automation through like Zepo or something? There's all these little tiny things that you have to sit down. So I have a to-do list as well, and I have time in my week to sit, and I don't have to worry about appointments. I don't have to worry about agent stuff. I can just like kind of sit and think and go, okay, I need to solve this problem, right? My no-show rate. And if you're new, like maybe you don't know how to solve this, you get with somebody like, hey, my manager, Sean, I'm going to get with Sean and I need to discuss how to make my no-show rate better. And he's going to talk to me about things like, okay, are you having them write it down? Are you having them clear your schedule? Check, check, check. Okay, cool. If you're on telesales, you're setting appointments. Are you sending text reminders? No. Okay. Set text reminders. Okay, great. Automate that. Okay, now I can have 5 more people show up next week. But if you never schedule that to think about solving that problem, it's never going to become a thing. Or, hey, we're recruiting a bunch of agents and they're getting through class, but they're not selling their first policy. Why? Okay. I need to start doing more strategy calls where I get with them, figure out and help them set a date and be with them on their first day of dials. Okay, great. Like, solving issues and processing issues is what successful business people do. But what we tend to do, because we are leaning on like family first life to kind of figure things out for us, we go, well, I'm selling and I'm talking to people, but it's just not working for me. It must be the business's fault. No, it's 100% every single one of our faults that it's not going the way we got to go. So put time in your week to plan. Right? To plan how you're going to improve, to plan on all the little things and how you're going to get better. Right? And that could be as simple as what you're going to do with your kids so they quit talking back to you. Right? It could be, how you're going to increase your closing ratio. If you don't know the products, I'm going to spend an hour this week studying the products. I'm going to spend an hour this week, learning the underwriting guides a little bit better. Right? I'm going to learn about IULs, right? So I'm gonna reach out to somebody and see if they can teach me how to run an illustration. And in that hour or two of planning, that's when you brain dump your problems and challenges that you've been facing, and then you come up with a solution. Now, you might not have the solution to solve it, but you can write down the steps to start solving it. And so again, I had all the other part right for a long time. I can sit down and work, right? Like if anybody's done manual labor, like just straight up manual labor, digging ditches, landscaping, working at McDonald's, that's, they tell you everything to do and how to do it. That's easy to do. And the reason that you don't get paid a lot of money, because it's a simple situation to solve, right? If you're a bagger, you put the soft stuff on top and the heavy stuff on the bottom. There's nothing to solve. You just do. But all of a sudden we're in business and we're used to doing all day long, but then you have to do, and then you have to be in your creative mind to solve. And that's where it gets tricky and it gets difficult, right? So again, put time in your schedule to plan. Now, again, if you're new, what does that look like? You're like, well, I don't even know what I don't know, right? I have problems that I don't even know I have. Then I would challenge you, schedule some time in your week to get with your manager. Hey, Sean Simpson, I've been selling. Now, if you haven't been selling or doing anything, don't do this, because he's going to tell you to get back to work, as he should, right? But if you've been selling and doing, hey, Sean, I got a couple things, can I get 30 minutes from you tonight? I want to run through and tell me what's going on. And he'd be like, oh yeah, here's how you increase that. Go check out this 1, 2, 3. And then you just put that in your schedule. Does this stuff make sense, guys? Has this been helpful even a little bit? All right. So super simple concepts. This is nothing fancy, but literally, if you want to move faster, right, it is in your schedule. It is how you go and process issues and challenges throughout your week. And what happens to most of us, again, is we just kind of let it ride and let it go. And that's when people wake up in their later part of their life and they go, man, I would have, I should have, I could have, but at least I tried. And I know none of us want to be that. We want to have success. We want to grow the business. We want to do the things that we always wanted to do. So that means we have to take the time to really sit down and go, okay, let me put the most important things in my schedule, like the big stuff first, but let me not forget the little stuff. And I know it's meticulous. I know it takes time and thoughtfulness and challenging ourselves and asking other people to challenge us. But that is absolutely what it takes to grow a big business. We're all in it together.